And all right, so Anne and Brandy, go ahead and take it away whenever you're ready.
Yeah. Well, hi everyone. I'm going to begin the presentation here. Hopefully everyone can see that okay. Welcome to this webinar on summer session, a contributor to student success. I'm Anne Van Arsdale, and I am the director of CSU Summer. I use the pronouns she, her, and hers. And I've been the director of the summer session, or CSU Summer, for the last 4 years. Before that, I was an advisor in human development and family studies. So I miss working with students. It's really great to be with you all, albeit virtually. I'm here to help if you have any questions about summer session. Hope to give you a lot of great information today, but I'm always accessible to you afterwards. And Brandy, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Brandy Ortiz. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm the coordinator for student success in the Office of Financial Aid. I've been in this role a little over a year and a half, but I've also been a part of CSU as far as professional staff, 7+ years on top of that. I used to be the program coordinator in El Centro for quite some time, and then was also student staff there. So I think I was there for over 12 years. I graduated from CSU. I took summer courses, and I'm an alumni now. I work here full time. So I've just been at CSU for a long time now. I love it.
Great,
Yeah.
thank you. And this is our agenda for today. So I'm going to be sharing about the benefits of summer and registration tips, as well as summer resources. And then I want to share with you also a new program that we have called Accelerated Programs that allows students to take advantage of summer session to graduate early. And also then Brandy will talk about the financial aid pieces of it, and we'll have time for questions and answers. I'd love to start by sharing with you a CSU summer video. I'm going to see if it will show right here in the Zoom link. It's only a 2-minute video. It's not going to do it that way. So what I'm going to do is try to share or do a new share of the website. Well, I thought I had that open and I'm not seeing it now. I'm sorry. I always have a little bit of problems going from Microsoft Teams to the Zoom. So do I need to stop share first? My apologies. No, I'm not seeing it. Well, if you go to the summer website, you can watch the video there. It's a 2-minute video, just gives you a little taste of what summer session looks like. A lot of the fun experiences you can have in summer session, including study abroad and research and field experiences, as well as just the CSU or the Fort Collins community in summer. So I want to talk about the educational benefits of summer. 3 out of 5 CSU students do participate in the summer session at some point. So it's a really common experience for students to take some summer classes for a lot of different reasons. And our institutional research office on campus does have research that indicates that students tend to have higher GPAs in the summer, as well as higher retention and graduation rates. So it is an opportunity to improve a GPA by repeating, deleting a class, or retaking a class. But also, most students will only take 1 or 2 classes at a time. So you can really focus on fewer subjects, and that also allows to enhance learning and a higher GPA potentially. So the smaller class sizes also allow for enhanced learning community, more attention from faculty, even if it's in an online environment, because there are fewer students to faculty. And oftentimes students say it's a real natural environment for study groups to be formed, because they get to know their classmates and their peers really well in those smaller classes. If you're considering adding a program of study or changing a major, so let's say you want to add or explore adding a minor, summer is a good time to do that, because oftentimes, you know, your fall and spring schedules are pretty well laid out for you, but if you can try out a class in the summer, then you can work with your advisor to build that into your academic year. And then, of course, lots of experiences in summer. I mentioned our video, which I hope you check out, includes you know, internships, research, study abroad, and field experiences. Sometimes students prefer to do those experiences outside of their schedule that has a lot of classes, so they can just really concentrate on those. And sometimes those are remote, or they're at a distance. in a different location. And so then that gives you that opportunity to do that as well. As far as time-saving benefits, you can accelerate your graduation and graduate early by adding summer regularly into your plan, or just stay on track for graduation. So as you probably know, 30 credits is what's typically required each year to stay on track for your grade level. So if you're a sophomore this year, you'll want to complete 60 credits prior to the fall so that you can enter the fall semester as a junior. So students are behind just maybe 1, 2, or 3 credits, just depending on what their fall and spring credit loads were or ended up being. The summer's a great time just to get caught up on that little bit of credit to stay on track. And then let's say you're thinking about studying abroad in a future semester, and in that semester you'd only be taking 12 credits. Summer is a great time to pick up 3 credits again, so you stay on track for that typical 15 credits each term. Summer classes also typically have a shorter wait list, so they're easier to get into those classes that in the fall and spring might be harder to get into based on those wait lists. There's also financial benefits. So by graduating early or earlier, you might have less educational expenses added on. Now, summer session definitely costs tuition, fees, and you'll still have living experiences, etc. But there is more financial aid in the summer than there's historically been. And Brandy's going to talk about that. That might ease some of those costs for you in the summer. And through conversations with our Career Center staff who works with student employment, they say that there's always more jobs in the summer than are filled by students. So there is demand, and those employers typically understand, if they're working with our Career Center office, that students in the summer session are going to have times where they're taking credits and they won't be able to work as much, and then times where they're not taking credits or as many, and their schedule will open up and they'll be able to work more. So it's usually pretty flexible for students as well. And then we do have prorated housing in Summit Hall, where students can pay for only the time that they stay. So for their housing and the meals, only the time that they stay. So that can help students with financial savings as well, and can be a benefit for keeping those costs down if it's for just a period of time. If tuition increases, it typically increases in the fall. So summer might be the last opportunity to have a lower tuition rate. And then finally, by graduating on time or early, students enter the job market earlier and have that opportunity for a professional salary earlier, which can add to overall lifetime earnings. So this is what our summer schedule looks like for 2021. And you can see that we have 3 4-week terms, 2 8-week terms that do overlap. So you want to be cautious between that mid-June to mid-July period if you're taking credits in that time that overlaps, as well as a 12-week term, and then varying lengths. So there are some classes that don't follow those other specific time frames. And this summer we have face-to-face, hybrid, and online courses. Last summer we were primarily remote, but this summer we do have face-to-face and hybrid opportunities that we're hoping students will be anxious to participate in, and overall over 1,700 course sections for students, and some of those are graduate level sections. So, but quite a large array of classes. And for summer, for all classes, including the online classes, students will register for those through RamWeb. In the fall and spring, students can register for their online classes through CSU Online, but in summer, it's all through RamWeb. So just make sure that you're going to that one place. And the instructional format will indicate if it's online, face-to-face, or hybrid. In terms of just a couple of registration tips, each of those terms within summer, so each class has its own last day to register, last day to drop, and last day to withdraw. For summer 21, the SU grading option deadline has been delayed or pushed back to August 15th. So you have a little bit more time to decide, just like you have been in the last couple of fall and spring semesters. And the withdrawal deadline for each class has been delayed too. That withdrawal deadline will be in the class details in RamWeb, like it always has been. It will just be a little bit later. So those are all going to be just independent of those classes, specific to those classes. But as always, the tuition is assessed after the drop deadline. So it's important that if you realize a class is not a fit for you, it's not going to work for you this summer, that you drop by that drop deadline so you're not assessed tuition. It's different in the spring or in the summer than it is in the fall and spring. And those deadlines come up really quickly because those terms are condensed. So just really watch for those. There's one deadline for the repeat delete, and that's July 26th. And these deadlines too are on our summer session website. We have a summer session calendar on there. Overrides might be needed in a couple instances in summer session, and common ones would be a time conflict. So in summer, we have classes that end, let's say, at 10 o'clock, and other classes that start at 10 o'clock. Instead of like in the fall and spring where they end at 9:50 and start at 10. So if they're ending and starting at the same time, that might require a time conflict override from one of the instructors. And usually instructors who teach in summer are aware of that, and they're happy to give those out and work with students to make sure that they're able to participate in both classes. If there's a long distance for some reason on campus and you're not able to get to that, I guess there could be an issue with giving that override, but usually that's understood that, that we'll make that work. There also might be an unmet restriction. So let's say that it requires a junior status, the class does, and you're not quite at that 60 credits yet. Another instance would be when a student is taking a prerequisite and advanced course in the same summer session, but they're taking the prerequisite early in the summer and the advanced course later in the summer. The registration, RamWeb is going to recognize them both in the same term, right? The same summer session. So that's another instance where an override might be needed from an instructor. On our website, we have a lot of resources that are helpful for you as you're determining if summer is a good fit and figuring out your schedule and all of these pieces. So we have Courses at a Glance, which is an interactive course listings. It pairs really well with RamWeb because in Courses at a Glance, you can search for courses by subject, like you can in RamWeb, but also by course delivery type. So you can see if it's hybrid, online, or face-to-face, and you can filter by that. You can also filter by AAC classes, and you can search by term. So let's say that you had something going on in the second 4-week term, but you wanted to look for courses that were offered in the first or the last 4-week term. You can search that way too. So super helpful, again, to use in addition to RamWeb. Also, those benefits that I talked about are all in the Why Summer area. So if you wanted to review those or share those with someone who you're working with to make decisions about summer, that might be helpful. We have all the information and links to, tuition and fees, the assessment deadlines for summer, again, the summer calendar and financial aid on the website. So lots of resources at summer.collegestate.edu for you. There's also direct links to some of those other pieces I talked about and some new pieces. So the links to the Career Center handshake tool for looking for those summer jobs, as well as RamWeb. The RamWeb might have some jobs that Handshake doesn't, such as local nannying positions, right? Or other caregiving type of positions that might not be in Handshake in the Career Center tool. There's the link to the summer housing through Summit Hall, but also Off Campus Life has this brand new summer housing page that allows you to search for local summer housing options and roommates. They have roommate roundups specifically for our summer students, as well as searches for internships and like furniture rentals and things like that in the summer and activities. I'll be sharing a bit with you about ideas for excelling in summer session, but we have a whole page dedicated to that on our website, including a lot of learning resources for you and support services. And then also, if you wanted to seek out study abroad in the summer, service learning in the summer, and other opportunities like that, we have a page for that as well. Regarding the student resources, I have a list here for you of some examples. Certainly, this isn't all exhaustive, but sometimes students will think that there are resources that are not available in the summer that they can typically access in the fall and spring. And I would say by and large, all of the resources that you can access in the fall and spring are offered in summer. Here again is just an example of those that are available to you, and we link these on our website as well. So many of these would be remote probably for summer 21, because as Gillette and Brandy and I were talking about before we started this session, we're still working from home. So we're still working with students remotely, but you will have support available to you in the summer session, just like always. Coming up here on April 27th and April 28th, I will be presenting with Juan Rivas from the Collaborative of Student Achievement. He is a collegiate success coach, and we will be presenting on excelling in summer session. And so it'll be a lot more involved than what I'm able to share with you today in this time frame. And it will also be recorded if you're not able to attend at that time, but you can register through the TILT website. And Gillette, I believe you'll be sharing this presentation, or I welcome you to share this presentation with students later so that they can have the links that are embedded right into this PowerPoint presentation for you.
Great.
So a couple of tips for you. You want to be prepared for the condensed terms and the accelerated pace of summer. Again, students are typically seeing higher GPAs in the summer for reasons of not taking as many classes at one time. Maybe they're using a repeat delete, etc. But students also have said that they really do like the accelerated pace. But again, you want to be prepared for it. So an example is that a 3-credit class, if you take it in a 16-week term, would be pretty light, right? If you're only taking 3 credits. But if you're taking that 3-credit class in a 4-week term, it's going to feel like 12 credits. So you want to prepare for that in terms of not only what that class will feel like, but what you're able to do outside of that class in terms of work and other obligations. So a 3-credit class in an 8-week term would feel more like 6 credits, so it might feel like twice as intense. And a 3-credit class in a 12-week term wouldn't feel too bad. It'd feel more like a 4-credit class, maybe like a typical lab class in terms of time commitment. The labs are typically offered in the 8-week terms, and they are more intense. You will be spending more time in the lab, and there will be, they'll move a lot more quickly as well. Another tip is to obtain your textbooks prior to the first day of class. I know in fall and spring, sometimes students like to wait and see how the class goes and then get the textbook. Do not try to do that in summer, because summer moves along so quickly that if you do not have the textbook right away, you could fall behind really quick on the reading. Just purchase the book or access it online. A lot of classes, I think, are moving to that option as well, which is great. And be prepared to return it if need be. So watch out for those policies for return, but don't delay on buying the book. Also be prepared to engage the first day in class and seek help if needed. So by the second day of class, the instructor might have already moved on to a new topic. So it might be a little bit too late to try to ask your questions and grasp the topics from that first day before you move on to that second. So connect with the instructor the first day, ask questions, and just meet with them early and often in the class. Build in more time to study and keep up with the faster pace of course too. So you know what a Tuesday and Thursday class feels like in a fall and spring term. In the summer, that might feel like you're having, if you have a Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday class, because oftentimes classes aren't on Friday, but you still want to study on Friday. It might feel like you're having that Tuesday, Thursday class twice in 1 week, just to give you an idea of that load. And so when you look over the syllabus and you're starting to put on your calendar when things are due and that sort of thing, you'll also want to be adding in, when you're going to start working on that research paper and when you're going to read, and build that all into your calendar, because again, it will move along pretty quickly. You will want to engage every day, and it is an advantage, like I said, to not maybe be taking as many classes in that semester, because you can and you will. You'll be right there in that content, every day, and so that can be very helpful. But just make sure you're engaging, and then meet with your faculty and try to form those study groups that should be more natural and organic for you to form in the summer. For online courses and strategies, as I mentioned, register through RamWeb. It will say location online, and the instructional format will be distance. For hybrid, the instructional format will say, hybrid there. And for the most part, those online and hybrid courses are taught through Canvas, but not always. It is up to the instructor, but most often they are in Canvas. So you're probably well familiar now with the Keep Learning resources on canvas.collegestate.edu. Please revisit those for summer if you're taking summer online classes for the first time. And just a reminder that they're not self-paced. So I think, again, most students have the handle of this online learning by now, but those used to be some points of confusion in the past. And then finally, in terms of support, there is academic coaching available to you. And I know you have the coaching and support right through the Academic Advancement Center too, so that's awesome. There are other resources as well, just depending on your needs. So through TILT, Magdalena Desta is a learning programs coordinator who meets one-on-one with students. And then students who are on academic probation would meet with Juan Rivas, the collegiate success coach through the Collaborative for Student Achievement. So lots of great one-on-one support there. And then before I turn it over to Brandy to talk about the financial aid, I do want to mention the accelerated programs. Again, this is a brand new option for students who have started at CSU this year, because it was not available previously. And basically, it's an opportunity for students who are participating in any of these programs of study to graduate in 3 or 3.5 years. Many of these programs of study that are listed here too, these majors, include multiple concentrations. And you can review all of these programs at acceleratedprograms.collegestate.edu. And as we have more you can look at those as well. You can see pending approval is a brand new program that's not even offered yet. It's called Languages, Literatures, and Cultures, Spanish for the Professions, and that will be offered in an accelerated format. All of these are offered to you in the 4-year to just traditional format as well. But accelerated program, that means basically you would take the typical 15 to 16 credits each fall and spring, as most students do, but then take 6 to 9 credits over the summer to graduate early. So it is a commitment of participating each summer. Of course, if you brought in transfer credits or already have credits that apply to this program, that might be reduced. But generally, we provide accelerated academic plans for students to complete more quickly if they like. So that's what I have for you on my end. And now I'll turn it over to Brandy.
Hi, everyone. I did want to add that I think I might have mentioned this, but I did absolutely do summer courses when I was an undergrad student. At one point, I was doing it because one of the courses I was really scared of, specifically public speaking. So I was like, let's just do it in the summer where I can 100% focus on it. Really awesome experience. It was 4 weeks and it did move super fast, but I did well, so I'm happy about that end result. And then the second summer, it was actually second and third potentially. I felt that I did more academically well when I was taking 12 credits in fall and spring semesters. So I chose to go that route for my fall and spring semesters, but then obviously was behind in my graduation progression. So I had to take summer courses the next couple of summers. I did still end up staying 5 years though, but I'm happy with the decision because I did double major, so it made sense. So for this slide, this is a helpful slide to understand the actual costs of staying at CSU for that extra year, potentially 5th or 6th year. It kind of lays it out by the resident and non-resident rates. So for a resident, you're paying close to $29,000 in cost of attendance for 1 year. You're foregoing $54,000 in income. That's an estimate from the CSU Career Center. So essentially in 1 year, one extra year at CSU, you're foregoing $83,000 in income, $165,000 for 2 years, and a similar estimates for a non-resident student, but the numbers are much more staggering. So it's $102,000 that you're foregoing in income for 1 year, and then $206,000 for 2 years. Now, the aspect that I want to add, the caveat specifically, is that whether you're in school or you're working full time, you're still paying for housing and meals. So these numbers aren't fully helping you understand what the cost would be. But then also another aspect is, and Anne mentioned this, that yes, you're saving an extra year of like a fall spring year, but you're still paying for summer semesters of tuition and fees. So I think you can take this slide with a grain of salt, but these numbers are helpful for some students. I'm ready for the next one. Okay. So this is all the different types of financial aid for the summer. Obviously, they don't all apply to every single student. So I will lay out what they each kind of mean and what students are eligible for these funds. So the first one is the federal Pell Grant. That is a need-based form of financial aid that students receive. Typically, after they do their 2020-2021 FAFSA, they likely received this Pell Grant for the fall and or spring semesters. So students are eligible for that grant in the summer, but it does require that students are registered for at least 6 credits. That is the bare minimum. Now, if a student was in more, 9 credits, 12 credits, they would get more. I did want to give you some examples. Scarlett, how much time do we have so I know how much detail to go into?
Feel free to take the time you need. That's fine.
Okay, so let's say, for example, a student received $4,000 of the Pell Grant for the academic year for fall and spring. They get $2,000 for fall, $2,000 in spring. They essentially can get another $2,000 in the summer if they're full-time in the summer. Most students are not full-time in the summer. 6 credits is what we see most often. So if the student did get the Pell Grant in the summer, they'd get half of what they'd get in a normal semester, so closer to $1,000. Because some students do ask often how much exactly, so I give that estimate. Also, federal student loans. I see a lot of students who choose not to utilize those loans in the fall and spring semester, often because they have grants or scholarships that are meeting their needs as far as paying off their balance. So for students who do not use our federal student loans, if they are registered for at least 6 credits in the summer, they would have access to those amounts in the summer. So let's say a freshman student had $5,500 of federal student loans offered in fall and spring, did not use it, they would have that option for $5,500 to be applied in the summer if they are in 6 or more credits. That's a big factor, the credits. Also with the student loans, the federal student loans, there is grade level progression. So I don't know if you all know, but freshman students get $5,500 of federal student loans, sophomores get $6,500, and then juniors and seniors get $7,500. So let's say you're a freshman student, you come in with transfer credits, and at the end of the spring 2021 semester, you exceed 30 credits, you're actually at 35. That means when you start the summer session, you technically are at sophomore status. So you could actually get the extra $1,000 as a sophomore student. So a $1,000 increase of your student loans could potentially apply. Same thing, it requires 6 credits. So 6 credits is a really important factor for a lot of the forms of financial aid that are eligible in the summer. Next is a Parent Plus loan. Parent Plus loans do require students are in 6 credits as well. It is a federal form of financial aid. It is not need-based, and parents can take out as much as the cost of attendance. That's the maximum amount. So let's say your cost of attendance for summer is $15,000. Your parents can take out that much minus your other forms of financial aid. A lot of parents also like to just find out what the exact balance is and take out just enough to cover that balance, but that is an option in the summer for dependent students. Next is the Western Undergraduate Exchange, also known as WUI. For those of you who do not know what WUI is, essentially it's for certain students from certain states that get awarded when they transfer into CSU or are admitted as a first-time freshman. It's often based off of GPA. It used to include SAT and ACT scores. But what happens when a student has WUI, they pay 150% of the resident tuition rate, which is really exceptional compared to the non-resident rate. So they're essentially saving like $10,000 in the normal fall spring academic year. But the reason why I'm mentioning it here is that summer is actually a freebie. So if you have not used up your 8 semesters that WUI is eligible for as far as fall and spring, any of those summers in between, WUI can apply. So that's super beneficial for WUI students, if any of you are one of those. And last but not least is a CSU tuition assistance grant. That is specifically for undergraduate resident students, and it is prorated. So if a student's in 1 credit, they're going to get a certain amount compared to 6 credits, compared to 9, compared to 12. Each specific amount of credits is a different amount of the actual grant. This one is need-based, does not require 6 credits, but what's most important here is these funds are very limited. So if you all are planning to do summer and you are eligible for the CSU tuition assistance grant, meaning you got it in fall and or spring, I recommend you register as soon as possible for your course load for the summer, because at some point, even if you're eligible, but you register later in May, they're potentially gonna have those funds exhausted. So we definitely want you to get those funds sooner rather than later. So register soon. That was a lot of information, financial aid. I know we're going to have time for questions at the end, but that is the basic forms of summer financial aid. All right, so being awarded financial aid, there is not an additional process that you need to do in comparison to other semesters. We require that the FAFSA is done, which it should have already been if you were receiving financial aid in fall or the spring semesters, and that you register for the actual summer credits through RAMWeb. If you do those 2 steps, you will be awarded financial aid if you're eligible for any, and that email should go out early April, so likely next week or the week after, and that email will direct you to RAMWeb to see your forms of financial aid. Similar to other semesters as well, summer financial aid disperses 10 days before your first day of classes. I do not remember off the top of my head the first day of summer classes, but let's say it starts on May 15th. You're going to be awarded your financial aid or have it dispersed into your actual balance 10 days before that, so May 5th. The reason why I added the due dates for summer, which is June 10th, is because there's one circumstance where I see it get a little clunky for students, specifically the last 4-week term of the semester. It starts July 12th, right? That means financial aid will disperse July 2nd, but the balance was due for June 10th. So that's the only time that I see it kind of get a little bit messy. And I'm wondering if you have any guidance of what students typically do in that situation. What I'm assuming happens is the student either pays out of pocket for that class and then reimburses themselves after their financial aid processes, or they know they're going to get that 1.5% late fee. But for all the other terms, financial aid pays before the due date is due, before the due date. So that's the one part I wanted to consider with the billing due date. Next slide, Anne. Okay, for any of you that are non-residents, there's this super awesome discount that the Board of Governors passed specifically for this summer. It is a 30% discount on tuition specifically for students who enroll in main campus courses specifically through RAMWeb. So Anne, from my understanding, it doesn't count any sort of online classes. It is main campus credits. So if the pandemic wasn't happening, if this course would be in person, those are the courses that count for that 30% tuition discount.
Actually,
so when you
no, it's all classes. So
awesome.
main campus means not CSU online. So they have to register through RAMWeb, but main campus includes the face-to-face, the hybrid, and the online classes. So
all classes. Awesome.
Yeah, all classes. Yep.
Cool. That is great news. So if you click on the link at a later time, the actual tuition and fee chart, you're going to see the base tuition and then the 30% discount and how much you actually were charged. That's the same amount that you're going to be charged on your billing statement with the 30% reduction. So it's already going to be included in your charges. And then this slide, I have never actually seen this happen, but it is an option for a summer scholarship exception request form. It is very specific for why you should use this. It's if you have an external scholarship, so maybe a high school or some sort of pre-collegiate program you were a part of, if they only offer that scholarship specifically for fall and spring, if they require that you're in at least 12 credits, and if you and your advisor believe that you need to take summer courses in order to continue on with your academic progression or your graduation goals, then we recommend you fill out there's a link in here, specifically the scholarship request form. If you click on that, it opens up a form which you can fill out, and then you provide that to your actual scholarship donor or the organization, and they make the decision if they'll make the exception to have that scholarship apply to the summer session. Definitely not a guarantee, but absolutely worth the effort if that is another form of financial aid you can get to pay down your summer balance. I believe that is all I have. Anne, do we want to open it up for questions?
Yeah, that would be great. We have listed on here too the contact us for both summer and financial aid. So you're welcome to contact Brandy or I directly, of course, but sometimes by going through this way, you'll find options. I know especially the financial aid office has the chat, phone, and email. In summer, we just have email right now, but we're glad to return a phone call, but we don't have a phone call directly in the summer session office quite yet. We're working on it, but yes, please answer or ask any questions that you might have.
Feel free to unmute yourself and ask, or you can put them in the chat. I'm monitoring that, and if you have, prefer that, yeah, please put them in the chat as well. We do have one question here from Jed. Thank you for asking, Jed. It says, for the Pell Grant, is it additional to what a student receives for fall spring semester, or is the student awarded a certain amount and distributed among semesters?
Yeah, so let's say a student never decided to do summer. They didn't do summer at all, and they were awarded, let's do another number, let's say 6,000. They were awarded 6,000 for the academic year, so 3,000 paid in fall, 3,000 paid in spring. That could be the end of the 2020-2021 academic year, just as 6,000, or they could register for the summer, take at least 6 credits, and potentially be offered an additional amount specific to summer as long as they're registered for at least 6 credits. So it would be in addition to what they received for fall and spring.
Good question. What other questions do you all have?
Yeah, so I have one question about the CSU assistant tuition grant, I believe. The very last one that doesn't require 6 credits. So for that one, so do we so if you get it for both spring, for both fall and spring, will you if there's still the funding available, would you get it by would you automatically get it by just signing up for that summer class, or how?
Yes. If there's funds available, you will automatically be awarded an amount based off of how much you're registered for. But an important aspect is to register for the total amount you plan to be in right off the bat, because what could happen is, let's say you just register for 3 credits just to hurry up and get registered, but then you're going to add 3 to 6 more credits. By the time you add those additional credits, those funds could already be gone. So you're really only getting enough for those first 3 credits, when instead you can just right off the bat register for the total of 9 credits and get the CSU tuition assistance grant for the total of 9 credits. But it all, again, is timely. So I don't know when those funds will be exhausted, but from what I'm hearing, it will be very quick. Does that make sense?
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, so
Okay.
basically, because what I'm planning is I'm just taking 1 class this summer. So what do you recommend is just literally right now, just sign up for it?
I mean, if you're sure you're going to take it and those are the credits that you need, yes. And if the funds are eligible, or if the funds are available, you're registered for 3 credits, you'll get awarded based off of those 3 credits.
Okay, perfect. Thank you.
Cool. We have another question from Leslie, and Leslie's asking, could the Pell Grant also be used at a community college? The classes I planned to take this summer are not being offered at CSUs, so I will need to take it at Front Range.
Yeah, so in that scenario, if you're going to take courses at Front Range, you would need to make sure your FAFSA is at Front Range as well. So they would offer you financial aid. I don't know if you have to be degree seeking there or what their requirements are for financial aid. But if you're taking Front Range classes, your forms of financial aid will be primarily at Front Range. But yes, Pell Grant is also available at Front Range.
All right, y'all. What other questions?
I have a pretty, I mean, it's not like a personal question, but it's very like unique to my situation because it includes study abroad. So I don't know if I can like stay back and ask y'all.
I'm going to defer to Brandy on that if she thinks now's the time to answer that or connect after.
Yeah, I'm thinking if it's a specific question, we might want to direct you to the specific staff in our office that oversees study abroad so you can get a very accurate answer, but I'm happy to answer after this if it is something I can.
Okay. Yeah, it's just that, so for my study abroad, they still haven't decided if it's going to happen in person, and they're going to be deciding on April 15th. So I'm just kind of worried because I got the Global Access Award, but they're letting me know that like it wouldn't cover my costs if it goes virtual here in the States. So I'm kind of like stressed as to like if I need to start looking for scholarships in case it goes virtual and apply for those. And then what, because I wouldn't be registering for the courses until April 15th when they let us know how to register. And I'm worried that by then all funds from the summer tuition assistance grant will be gone.
Yeah, let's stay on after and I'll give you someone specific, their email address and their name, and you can connect with them and they will be more than happy to kind of tease that out for you.
Okay, thank you.
I have a general question for you, Anne, and maybe Brandy. So, and sorry if you mentioned this, but summer classes, do we know anything about the platform of it, if they're going to be online, in person, or a hybrid?
For summer overall, there's going to be a combination. So students can look at the instructional, what's it called? The delivery instruction on the course details, and that will say. It used to be where students could look at the 401 or like regular section 001, 002, but apparently last year when classes went remote, that got a little bit commingled. So we don't have that just that distinction anymore with the 401s and the regular sections. So I would look at the delivery type, the instructional delivery type in the class details. And again, if you go to the Courses at a Glance tool on the summer.collegestate.edu website, you can do a filter by hybrid, online, and face-to-face. And so that would be very helpful as well as figuring that out.
Cool. All right, any final questions for Brandy or Anne? Nothing? Okay. Okay, thank you all so much for joining us today. Thank you, Anne and Brandy, for sharing this really helpful information to our students. And for students, please, again, I want to reinforce that if you, please make sure to send me your name, your CSU ID, and what program you're in, Thrive, Grad, STEM Thrive, any of that. And please make sure to complete the evaluation before heading out today. If you've already done so, you are free to go. If you have additional questions, you can stay on for a little bit. Any additional questions. But yes, thanks again for joining us, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.